So my name is Humphrey Nkonge. I'm one of the conveners of this meeting. I've met all of you guys, so I don't have much to introduce myself. So maybe the others can introduce themselves one by one. Kemboi.
Oh.
Do you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I was saying my name is Kemboi. I'm glad to see you guys.
We are losing you. I can't hear you well. Please.
I'm saying that it's great to meet my classmates here. I do hope
Okay, Protus.
Oh yeah, thank you so much. My name is Protus of the Lusweti, based in Oxford, United Kingdom, and I'm happy to have you guys on board. I mean, obviously, I'm looking forward to a very interactive session. Yeah, that's it. Or do I need to say more? Or that's all?
Maybe that's all for now, so that at least we can admit the people who are waiting, so that they don't start going away.
Okay, good.
Donald?
Hello guys. It's good seeing you all today. My name is Ngalula-Chair. I think I've met 4 of you now. I'm the chairperson for Kenya Students and Novice Nurses. This is the chapter for young nurses in Kenya and senior nursing students. I'll be your moderator for today, and I'm looking forward to a very fruitful meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Gertrude?
Hi everyone, I'm Gertrude Orodo. I think everyone knows me except Kemboi. So nice to meet you, Kemboi. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Wairema?
So nice to meet you, Protus and Kemboi. My name is Wairema Maina. I have met Gertrude, Humphrey, and Dawn. I'm the convener for Registered Nurses Connect, Pale Instagram, and I'm so happy to see you guys here. I hope we'll do more of such meetings with you guys. Karibuni.
Sure. Nice to meet you as well.
So thank you very much.
Okay.
I'm going to make Donald the host. And then Donald, please, if you can start admitting people so that they don't get tired of waiting for us. So I've already made you the host.
So in 2 months, I'm going to be doing my IELTS exam. So whatever you're earning, you're working towards paying for your IELTS exam. You might fail the IELTS and you feel that, oh, now I need to look for more money. Give yourself time to find the money to redo the exam. You know the cost of CBT, start planning in advance, because the beauty of the UK process in particular, you don't need the money as a lump sum, you need it in bits. So you can plan your finances beforehand. So for me, I think those are the 3 biggest barriers that I faced, particularly during my process. The exams and then the emotional aspect of it. It was a bit stressful dealing with negativity around, people who are discouraging you, people who don't understand what you're trying to do. And given the amount of money I was earning back in the day, and the fact that I was living and working in Nairobi, I still had to pay for rent and expenses. So the money aspect of it was also hard on me. But with proper planning and saving and spreading the process, like you don't need all this money all at once. So that was really helpful. So maybe Lusweti can share more, Protus Lusweti can share more about the barriers he experienced and how he overcame them when he was trying to move to UK. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gertrude, for the pass. Thank you so much, Mr. Moderator. And I want also to take this opportunity to commend you all. I think there are various groups represented on this platform for the good work they're doing in terms of enlightening the nurses on, opportunities abroad. And also to all those of us who are tuned in from wherever they are. Karibuni sana, and we're looking forward to having a very lovely session with you guys. So back to the barriers. I think I want to believe Gertrude has been very comprehensive in terms of covering the main barriers. I might just add a few things here and there on what, I mean, that is from my own personal experience. So exams being one of the main barriers, there are various approaches through which one maybe can follow to overcome that barrier. I mean, what worked out for me was actually practicing. I mean, especially with IELTS, you really need to take your time and practice more. The good thing is most of those exams, you have sort of a marking scheme which you can gauge how you're progressing. And if you feel, to be honest, your score is not that very good, I think I would advise maybe, nowadays we have so many groups, I think Passcode should be one of them, that are helping nurses with the training with IELTS. So if you feel like maybe your score is not that very much convincing, I think it's advisable to maybe seek help to people who are experienced in terms of helping with the training, because obviously it is not a cheap investment with the hard economic times. I mean, spending 30K or more for an exam that you're sort of going not to do well is quite a lot. So maybe barriers don't just stop once you're still in Kenya. When you cross over here, there might be barriers, but obviously they're not as maybe bad as the barriers that we tend to have when we are still back home. For me, I think part of the barriers I noted here, obviously being a minority here, you really need to overcome that fear, because you come from an environment where somebody still. Okay, thank you. So, okay, sorry, I was just finishing up on the barriers that back home. I think Gertrude spoke about the exam barriers, which I've added a few points on. Maybe I think practicing really works well for me. The emotional barrier, I think having a good support system, because right now, I think for most nurses will be coming over, maybe to the UK and the US, we've had quite a substantial number of people who are already here and who are already in the US. So I think, unlike maybe we guys, when we started coming over, we didn't really have a very good support system. But I think for people who will be coming, right? I mean, for people who are currently coming and who will be coming in the future, I want to believe that you'll have a very good support system from we guys. So it's not much of a barrier as of now for the newbies who will be coming. And I was also talking about maybe the barriers once you've come over here. So partly, obviously, being a minority, there might be that fear of, obviously, you are a black man in a white man's country. Obviously, growing up in Africa, we've been given this perception that maybe white men are better or superior. So I think having that courage to step out of your comfort zone and go for some of these opportunities, I think would be a very good way of breaking up that barrier. Because the beauty about this country, I mean, maybe talking about the UK where I am, it is a fair country, to be honest, compared to how maybe things were back home. I can say it's a fair country. If you know your stuff, you'll be given the opportunity. So if you can overcome that fear of maybe feeling sort of inferior and going for these opportunities that are here, I think you definitely have a very good opportunity to progress your career. I think that's it for now. Maybe if one needs any clarification, I'm a man of few words.
Thank you very much, Nurse Lusweti, Protus, and Nurse Gertrude. So just allow me to recap what they've said, because we lost quite some bit of Gertrude's presentation for the sake of the recording. So Nurse Gertrude shared the challenges, the barriers she had. In this case was on financing and support, the barriers in support system, and also the barriers in exams. And for those also who have been keen, Nurse Gertrude emphasized on the need to prepare, especially for the exams, because that is where that is the most one of the barriers that has really impeded many people. Nurse Gertrude has shared on the need of overcoming the barrier of finance. You need to prepare yourself with finance, because the entire process needs finance. And then came in as Protus, who has also elaborated the same and echoed the same. Thank you very much. I already see questions for you, for Nas Gertrude and also Nas Protus, but allow us to bring in. We have Nas Angela Kirui. Thank you very much for joining today, and you are doing a good work over there. But we request that your mic be on mute. Angela Kirui, please ensure your mic is on mute always. Okay. Fine. Thank you very much. Allow me to bring to change the perspective from UK to US. I know we've got very many questions about UK. Keep your questions coming through my chat box or through my WhatsApp. I've shared my WhatsApp number. We have changed today's manner in which you're asking questions for the sake of the security of our meeting. For those ones who were with us last week, noticed what happened. And with us, we have just a minute. With us, we have Nas. Okay. Yes, amazing. We have nurses who have practiced in UK. We have nurses who have had experiences on your preparation for UK. And I'll bring in Nurse Job Kemboi, who is a registered nurse in Kenya and also a registered nurse in the US, who has done his NCLEX and already processed and passed by himself through a self-sponsored process. And also, he is also an NCLEX coach, helps people to do NCLEX exams by themselves. After Nurse Kemboi will bring in Nurse Humphrey Nkonge. So, Kemboi, if you could kindly please unmute, tell us how you began your journey, what prompted your decision, what are the barriers you met on the way, and how did you overcome these barriers? And what is the best advice you have for those of us who are planning either to practice in the US, in Canada, and that should also cover Australia? Thank you very much.
Can you hear me now?
Better, much better.
Okay, so I was saying that my name is Job Kemboi, an RN in Kenya, also in the US, the state of Texas. I did self-sponsorship for the NCLEX examination, and I'm still waiting to transition into the US, but still practicing as a nurse here in Kenya. So to begin, I started my journey in the year 2016. I joined an agency called Davia, whereby I was interviewed and then they was to sponsor me. But now I left the agency because of change in work location from Nairobi to Mombasa. So I abandoned the process until the year 2019, around July, when I did my my IELTS examination in August. And then now I started preparing for NCLEX. So the process, okay, the challenges which I faced personally were information, access to information. I didn't know the order of preparing for the examination. You can imagine I started preparing for NCLEX, for IELTS examinations. And then now you can imagine this exam expires within 2 years. So I did the exam in August 2019, passed it, and then now I started registering for the CGFNS around October, November, whereby now I took my applications to the University of Nairobi and also the Nursing Council of Kenya. And then now they started processing the documents and also sending them to the United States for them to review and then give a report. So one of the challenges, the challenge that I faced personally is that inaccurate documentation or filling of the forms at the University of Nairobi and also the Nursing Council, which led now to delays. You can imagine something which could take maybe 2 weeks or even a month, taking up to 3 or 4 months because of a minor error. Like, for example, the University of Nairobi made an error in my date of birth, which resulted in my document verification taking around 4 months. So that delay, so I got my CS report in around April 2020. Then that's when I proceeded to do the application to the Texas Board of Nursing. And then thereafter now, COVID came, which led to, and then now the Texas Board of Nursing transitioned on, from paper application to online application. So the application papers were misplaced and I had to redo the same process afresh. And this resulted in me getting my ATT in 2021 around February. And did my NCLEX in the year in 2021 around May 10th. So the major impediment to passing to transitioning to practice in the US is access to information. If you don't have the right information, you may delay and even not achieve what you plan according to your calendar. So that's one of the challenges that I faced myself. Inaccurate documentation and delays. So when it comes to NCLEX preparation, it's a resource-intensive activity which needs a lot of money. You need to invest a lot of money in study materials like buying books, also question banks. So, but with adequate preparation and savings, you can be able to achieve it if you plan yourself well. So when I got my ATT, that's when now I asked for help from people who had done the NCLEX examinations and where on how to proceed with it. And I'm really very grateful to my colleagues who were able to help me. And that's how I was able to do my NCLEX exam. It's very, very important that we seek help from people who have gone through this process. Personally, I did my research online most of the time on the order of doing things. But now I felt it was very, very important that you get to inquire about what to do from those people who've completed this process, because the information they give is really invaluable. It's very, very valuable. For example, on the tools to use to prepare for the examination. A friend did advise me about U1, and I found U1 very, very useful to me because it gives you a prediction about how you're going to perform in the examination. So because it has 2 examinations, 2 tests, which you can do maybe some few weeks or months before the examination, it can tell you, are you really ready for the exam or you still have a lot to do? So when I did that examination, personally, I was given feedback that the chances of me passing the examinations were quite high, and that gave me confidence to proceed and even book the accommodation and the flight to the exam center. Because I felt I was ready, and this the information I was given by my colleagues prior was that once you get such feedback, you can really pass the examinations, and I felt it was really useful to me. So when now after finishing or completing NCLEX examinations, I took almost 2 months to scout for an agency which could sponsor me. Some of them turned me down because I was working in a small county facility. So, but I was lucky to get one. So we should not be discouraged when these agencies run you down. There are those who will finally see value in you and accept you, and then now they can process your immigration process. all in all, it's always important to maintain a positive attitude. Know that the end goal is you may be moving to the UK or the United States or Australia or Canada, depending on your own aspirations. So, as I said initially, this investment is worthy. When agencies sign you, some of them give you a signing bonus. So you should not feel like you're wasting this money on an exam that you may fail. It's important that you maintain a positive outlook, study hard, prepare, because NCLEX is an exam that needs you need to apply knowledge. It's not a test that you just need to understand. You need to apply knowledge, you analyze, you use critical thinking skills for you to pass that examinations. Also, you need to understand how the test comes. Most of us prepare for these examinations using maybe textbooks or online materials without interacting with the computer adaptive test system, whereby you get to practice on a platform that's same as the one they used to do the NCLEX examinations. So getting a question bank or a question bank that is tailored like the NCLEX testing system is very, very important. You get to interact with questions that you are going to see on the other end during the exam day. So it's very, I do advise those who are planning maybe to do these examinations to get to interact with the question banks like UWorld. Personally, used to UWorld. You can use Hatcher, you can use Kaplan, so that you can be able to know what to expect in the other hand. Finally, you need to prepare, read. NCLEX is about content. You need to master content. You need to practice also questions. There are so many different kinds of questions that may come during the exam, during the examinations. So you need to prepare widely. You need to have your content. Most of us fail because of procrastination. Maybe you're saying, I'm going to study tomorrow. So we should not be procrastinators if you want to pass these examinations. I know sometimes when in our working environments, we may be so exhausted, burnout, also COVID came, uncertainties. So it's important that you create your study time. Personally, I used to study from 11 to around 3 a.m. in the morning, after maybe working from around 7:30 to around 6:30 p.m. in the evening. So I take some rest, and then now I start studying from maybe 11 at night until 3 a.m. So you need to create your own study time that is convenient to you. Also, rest is important, and also engaging in other activities like exercise so that you can refresh. For those who may be preparing currently, you need to handle those topics which you feel are difficult during the time that you feel you're fresh. You can also use the approach of using study groups with your colleagues who maybe studying for the exam or preparing for the exam within the same workstation. They can be helpful for some people. That's all for now. Maybe if I get some additional points, I'll share later.
Wow, thank you very much, Nurse Kemboi. Very elaborate, quite a calm nurse. I would love to have you as an in-charge for me, actually. So what I've been able to pick up from there that there's no barrier that you cannot overcome, whether you work in a sub-county hospital, in a county hospital, in a dispensary. It's all about investment and making the decision, and preparation is key. And just to welcome Nurse Humphrey to build up from where Nurse Job has left, also to share more light. And probably as you continue sharing, there is one key point that Job highlighted that before he got registered from Texas, they had to write to UON for UON to give maybe comments or something like that before you could get the verification. Maybe you can also give a highlight of the important, because I also know we have good students in our midst, the value of taking your clinicals seriously and being in good terms with your lecturers, because when you want to transit to some of these countries, you need the recommendations for you to be registered in these countries. Now, Humphrey, kindly, if you can take it over from there.
Okay, thank you very much, Donald. Yes, so I would like to first of all start by talking about what you have asked me to refer to. Thank you very much, Kemboi, Nas Kemboi, Protus and Gertrude. First of all, I would like to say that the reason actually I convinced Kemboi to come to this meeting is because Kemboi has done the NCLEX process by himself. He did not get assistance of any agency to do the NCLEX process and pass. And we have, sometimes people can even use an agency and even fail. Of course, having been in nursing school, and I believe everyone here has been in nursing school, you know, failing is part of the life. Failing exams is sometimes part of the life we pass through. So it's a common vocabulary anyway. So Kemboi really inspired me, going through the process, maneuvering through the NCLEX process and having to crash that process. It's not easy because it is demanding. Next, I would go to the issue the moderator has asked me to talk about, the issue of documents being verified by institutions. Sometimes institutions are failing us in this country. Just last week, I had one of my customers who wanted me to assist them in, they are not in Nairobi, so they sent me to the institution. And we started chasing their document from the institution in November to be sent to the CGFNS. The guy registered with the CGFNS, and after 2 weeks, he had the documents, sent them to the school. And we had going back to and fro, the document is not ready. From November, the whole of December, we just got the document last week. I will not name the institution, but I will say that if we have in our midst people who work with institutions, please let us assist nurses to realize their dreams. There is no need for a nurse to come request for verification of their documents, and they are paying, then they wait for 1, 2, 3 months, or even 2 months is a lot. And these people are paying for those services. I would say that in terms of verifying documents, even though Nursing Council charges a lot of money, at least their verification is a bit faster, and they have an organized way of sending documents to the CGFNS and other bodies. You realize that some institutions will not even send those documents to the CGFNS, yet the CGFNS requires the institution to send the document to them. So I would challenge our institutions to be more proactive and adopt the new normal, because the new normal is that we are training nurses to become global practitioners. Nowadays, even in this country of ours, Kenya, we are not training nurses just for local consumption. We are training nurses to work globally because of the benefits that are involved, not only for the individuals, but also for the country and also the institutions in terms of brain gain. So yes, it's good to have good terms with your institution, because you will go back there. If you want to go to the UK, you will go back there so that you can be registered by the NMC. And also, wherever country you are going, you will be verified. In fact, for those who are going to practice in Canada, institutions in Canada will follow you even in areas where you have worked before. And it's very important, even where you're working, you have a good relationship with your employer. So now, coming now to my experiences, challenges. For me, I've done the NCLEX process, and I can say that it was really a tough process for me. In fact, it requires a lot of commitment. You have to really commit yourself in the process, because for me, my biggest challenge was going back to the books, because I had practiced. I had also gone to business to do other things. So coming back to the books was not very easy for me, even though I love to read, and it was not very easy. And again, nursing content is a lot. You have to know a lot. With the NCLEX, you have to learn a lot of content and revise a lot, watch a lot of videos. So that was a big challenge to me. Next was money. If you are deciding to do the NCLEX process, even if you are doing NCLEX process with an agency, you will use money, a lot of money. Sometimes, here we have been talking about the self-sponsored process, and people have, some people have been saying that the self-sponsored process needs a lot of money. I want to say that I did my process with an agency, and I used a lot of money on top of what the agency was paying for me. So the most important thing, if you want to do the NCLEX process, you have to prepare yourself with money. In our last webinar, we broke down the kinds of money that you need. The good thing about it, as Gertrude said, in all these processes, you don't need to have all the money at the same time. You will use money during the process, step by step. So I found, like with the NCK, because my process was affected by COVID and it delayed, and some of my documents with the institutions actually expired, I used a lot of money with the NCK to go back to verify a license, go back to verify a license. My school document got lost by the CGFNS when COVID came. There was a lot of commotion there. I went back to the school to verify the document. I used money again. So my process has really used a lot of money. And I believe even with the other people, it uses monies. Now, the other challenge I would like to talk about is emotions, emotional preparedness. Like Gertrude was talking about, things happen and sometimes they not go the way you had planned. Like me, I expected to do my NCLEX before 6 months ended. But COVID came as I was preparing for the NCLEX. I had stopped most of my things so that I can prepare for the NCLEX. And when COVID came, we stayed with a lot of hope that I'll do next week, I'll do next week. 6 months passed, almost a year passed, and it was really hard. Waiting, you have to keep yourself updated. When you are working with an agency, the agency sets the terms. It is not you who sets the terms. So you really have to comply. You have to do exams. You have to do revisions. And that was very hard on me. But of course, I stayed looking at the big prize that I want to win. Now, in this process, I would like to talk a little about the self-sponsored process. The self-sponsored process like the one Kemboi did. First of all, many people have gone to the US from Kenya through agencies. I can't myself undermine the work that agencies do. Agencies are very good. They have assisted very many people to go to the US and also the UK. And but it is also important to point out that there is a perception that I have heard from some people. Even we have also seen comments that when you go to the US with an agency, the agency helps you for free. Actually, that is not the case. What the agency does, the agency pays for your, for those expenses up front, so that when you transition to the US, you go there now, you will pay them. In this case, the agency may not tell you that we have spent 500,000 shillings on you, so you are going to pay us 500,000 shillings. The agency will get their money after giving you work. So for quite a number of agencies, if not all, for every hour you work, they get something. So they will be getting something from you for every hour you work, and you will have to sign, before they start funding you, of course, funding your processes, you will have to sign an agreement, a contract, for about 2 to 3 years. Most of the US agencies is 2 to 3 years. sometimes they talk in terms of hours, and that could be somewhere to do with more than 5,000 hours. And for every hour you work, they have to get something from your salary. So that's how they get back their money. Again, if you go fail the NCLEX, the agency may require you to refund the money they have already used on you. If you change your workstation or you move from one ward to another, they may terminate the contract and require you to reimburse them. So the self-sponsored program that we are talking about is whereby you do the NCLEX process before you sign a contract with an agency. When you do the NCLEX process before you sign a contract with an agency, you are quite advantaged, not actually a bit, quite advantaged, because you can negotiate the hours you're going to work for the agency. For someone who has not done the NCLEX, they can sign a contract of more than 5,000 hours. But for you, when you have already done the NCLEX, you can negotiate even for like 3,000 hours or something less, because the agency will now be sponsoring you for the immigration process. So this self-sponsored program is, if those people who qualify for agencies can join agencies, but you see, there are other people who do not qualify for agencies because agencies set their own terms. For example, they may require you to be working in a big hospital, 8-bed capacity. So does it mean that if you're working in another bed capacity and you have to dream to go to the US or Canada, you can't go to those places? So the self-sponsored program allows you to start registering, to register and start revising for the NCLEX, even if you are in a small hospital or you don't qualify to go to the agencies, because the terms of the agencies are not the terms of practicing nursing in the US. Those are terms of a particular agency. Again, if you want to control your process, you can do the self-sponsored program. If you pass the NCLEX and join an agency, the only thing the agency does for you is immigration. And that one is not in their control. It can be very fast depending on the embassy. So if you want to control your process, sometimes you apply with the agency and you find that they are responding after 1 month because of the numbers of applications they are receiving. And they have to do a lot of scrutiny and choose the best and the number they want. So say like 1,000 people have applied and the agency wants 50 because that's the capacity they are able to handle at that particular time. So they may keep you pending, and sometimes maybe they may not tell you. So in such a case, if you are doing the process by yourself, it is you to decide when do you want to do NCLEX? When do you want to register for the CGFNS? Sometimes the agency can start with you, then you get to a place that they tell you, you are not ready to test, so we cannot take you to South Africa, or we cannot take you to a place. So when you do the self-sponsored program, you control your process. If you want to fasten your process, again, you can fasten your process if you're doing the self-sponsored, but with the agency, it is them who go step by step, deciding now we are going to this step, we are going to this step. If there is a step where they require you to pay, then they have to, first of all, wait for you to pay, and then they move on to the next process, and there might be some preconditions for you to meet. Now, another thing is if you want bonuses, if you want to assign on bonus, last December, just 1 month ago, there is an agency that announced $5,000 sign-on bonus for people who have done NCLEX. That if you have done NCLEX, you sign on with that agency, they were reimbursing you $5,000. That's more than 500,000 Kenyan shillings. And they were ready to give you if you have done NCLEX. So if you sponsor yourself, you can get those bonuses. Again, if you sponsor yourself and you do NCLEX, you can choose not to go with the normal agencies that we know. And you go with some agencies called direct hire agencies. So direct hire agencies will link you directly to a hospital so that for every hour you work, they will not be getting part of your salary. For them, they will get a payment from the hospital for bringing a worker, and kind of you will not be in a kind of a bondage. So it is also a very big advantage. Now, so those are some of the things that I wanted to mention. I think for the interest of time, I will allow the moderator to take the questions so that the panelists can address the questions, because I know there are so many questions that nurses have. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nurse Humphrey, quite a charismatic speaker and a charismatic nurse who always envisions on empowering nurses. We are always privileged to have you. So we've got quite a number of questions with us. And the first batch of questions, I'll direct them to Team UK, as some of us have called them in the Q&A. So I'd like the first one to go to Nurse Gertrude. Then the second question will be handled by Nurse Protus. So the first question from WhatsApp. From WhatsApp, the first question I'm having from one of the people who has already passed her IELTS. She has also passed her NMC CBT. She's preparing to come to the UK. This is a question she's asking, and I'd like Gertrude to handle this. How is the cost of living in UK? And from an honest point of view, how is the pay? And the third question is, are there any differences in practice and standards from Kenya in UK? So the first question is, how is the cost of living in UK? How is the pay? From an honest point of view, I know matters money, right? And then
Okay.
and then the last one is, are there any differences in practice and standards from Kenya in the UK? And then you will hand over to Nurse Protus, who will tell us about the prospects of career progression. What are the prospects of career progression and moving your band? I know Gertrude will touch on it, but also Protus can also touch on it. What are the prospects of career progression and moving your band? Thank you, Gertrude.
Thank you. Thank you, Donald. I like how the person has emphasized honest. So I don't want to lie. So the cost of living. So the cost of living entirely depends with where you are. So just like in Kenya, if you live in Nairobi, you can't compare yourself to someone who lives in, let's say, Eldoret or Kisii Town. There are obviously differences. So the closer you are to London, the higher the cost of living, but also the higher the pay, because if you are in a high cost area, there's a certain allowance you get because you're in a high cost area. But to be honest, it doesn't make much difference because it cancels out. So I'm living about 1 hour away from London, and to just paint a bit of a picture about the cost of living, right now I can't afford to rent my own house because otherwise I would be living to pay rent. So it helps if you have a partner or a wife or a husband, then you can cost share. And if you have none of those, then you have to look for a flatmate. For me, it was a bit some sort of a luck. I just met my flatmate at work, and I've been living with her since then. So we have to split the bills 50-50. The rent, there's something we pay called council tax. You know, like Kanjo, how they pick the trash, maintaining the roads and the cleanliness of your city, those petty small things, but you have to pay for them. So the beauty of it is that they actually provide those services. So you have to pay council tax, then you have to pay here, you pay for everything, literally. You have to pay to watch TV. Apart from, you have to pay to watch TV, you have to pay to watch Netflix, apart from the subscription for Netflix. So there are those tiny, tiny costs that if you put together at the end of the day, you find that the cost of living and your salary will go hand in hand. There's a perception we have when we're in Kenya and when we are newcomers in the UK, where you convert pounds to shillings and then you think you're rich. But the catch is that you're not spending the money in shillings, you're spending it in pounds. So I'll give you an example. Like for me to braid my hair in a proper salon where I go and sit and they wash my hair, I think that's the thing I miss most about Kenya. That aspect of going to the salon, you sit, they wash your hair, they blow dry for you. In fact, some days I would just walk with my head like this, they undo it, they wash, they do all those things. Here you can't afford that. Just to braid your hair in where I'm living is about 100 pounds, which is about 15,000 Kenya shillings. You can't sustain that every month. So the cost of living is high. But the good thing is that we are still here, we're still surviving. I mean, since I came to the UK, I've been able to do so many things that, to be honest, I wouldn't have been able to do if I was still in Kenya. And I'll give you an example. Like when I started World Class Nurse, I did the website, I did the logo, I paid for mentorship, I paid for all these things out of my own pocket. So the cost of living is high, but you find ways of managing. I can't even explain it. You find ways of managing. And when it comes to salary, my honest truth, because I find people always shy to talk about their salaries, but personally, I'm never shy because my goal is to provide as much information to help you make that decision. So for your band 5 salary as a nurse, before all the allowances and everything, usually is about 1,800 pounds to 2,000 pounds. So depending with the area you are, there are certain allowances that you may get. Like I said, there's that high cost area. So that's before you do any extra work. Once you have confidence and you feel that you can move around, you're allowed to do 20 more hours on top of your main job. So if you work full time, like 3 days a week, you're allowed to do 20 more hours. When COVID came, they scrapped that rule off because they needed more nurses at that time. They were desperate for nurses. So they scraped off that limit so that we can work as long as we want. Like if you want to go 6 days a week, it's up to you. Although in my hospital, if you work a lot, there's a time they ban you. They tell you now, you need to go and rest. You're not being productive. So that's your salary. So the extra money, it depends with your effort. It depends with your effort. I know people who, when they have a project to do, like a friend of mine was planning to do a wedding. She worked before the wedding. She really worked. Like every day you go to work, you see her. So, and if you're lazy, again, it's up to you now to top up your salary. And the final question was differences in practice. Again, there are a lot of differences in practice. I realized when we are studying like the nursing process, you know, NANDA, all those things are American. So when you come to the UK, the nursing process is different. We don't do care plans the way we used to do in Kenya, where you write that table and all those things. So it's a bit different. Like there are small differences and big differences. I think one difference I can highlight that is a small one is, you know how in Kenya we really put emphasis on, you know, systolic and diastolic pressure. We really put emphasis on both being high, but here mainly they look at the systolic pressure. Once the systolic pressure is high, they don't want to know if the diastolic one is low. Once the systolic pressure is high, it's high. So those are the tiny differences. Here, you really have to be good with your documentation, because when they say you can find yourself in court, it's literally true. You can find yourself facing litigation for something you either did or did not do. So negligence, things you just do out of the blues, you really have to pay attention to those. So in terms of the quality of care, honestly, there's a big difference. And when you come to the UK or whichever country you go, my advice is don't be too forward. There are people who come, they were ITU nurses, or you're a nurse, you've been a nurse for 15 years, you feel like you know everything. When you come here, you start from the lowest level. You have to be humble. You have to pretend like you know nothing. Like you have to start afresh. Like even cannulation, before you're approved competent, don't ever do anything unless you've been approved to be competent to do it. So all those things that you think you know how to do, you have to pretend as if you don't know how to do them and start learning afresh. Also, something else here, communication with patients and their relatives and even colleagues is very important. Like even your colleague can do an incident on you because you were rude or you discriminated them or something of the sort. I'll give the last example before I hand over to Protus. There's this case that happened once, like we received a patient who was transgender. So you'd obviously want to ask, like the nurse who asked, she really asked it out of the of not knowing. She just asked, are you going to the male side or the female side? Just a simple, genuine, honest question. And that was a big issue. You're discriminating me. Why are you discriminating? And you see, like, so you really have to pay attention to what you're saying, the way you talk to patients, the way you talk to your colleagues, anything, something that you think is normal can be taken so as a big thing. So when you come, you have to give yourself usually about 6 months to just learn how the system is working, the standards. They really emphasize on standards of care. You learn communication and what is important for patient satisfaction. So I'll hand over to Protus to talk about career progression. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gertrude. I think to sum up on what Gertrude has just said, especially on the money part, we have that given amount of money that people start with, or rather that we are paid a salary. But I think the amount of money you're going to make, ni bidii yako, that's I think what I can always say, because we given sort of that blank check, the more you are willing to work, the more you are likely to earn as well. Anyway, back to my main area that I was supposed to address, the career progression. So I think, in my opinion, from my 2.5 years I've been here in the UK, I think there are two factors that determine career progression in the UK. Obviously, the chances of career progressing, in my assessment, are way higher here compared to back home. But I think the type of employer you're going to get might determine on how you're going to progress with your career. Okay, take for example, obviously, the number two, before I cite my example, number two will be the personal initiative. Obviously, there are opportunities here, but you have to go for them. Unlike maybe back home, when you get a promotion based on the number of years you've worked. Like if you've worked for 5 years, you might like now move from NO1 to NO2. But here, I think actually all opportunities are competitive. If you can be 1 year, you can have 1 year of experience and the position arises. If you're feeling confident, if you go for it and do well in the interview, they'll give you the job. Maybe I think I can tell my story. My story might well explain this career progression subject. I came to this country in 2019. Obviously, as Gertrude says, everybody who comes here starts as a junior nurse. I think within 9 months of being here, I was promoted to band 6, which is sort of equivalent to a deputy manager. Then I worked there for I've been on that position for about another year and a few months. Then I made a move because I've always loved research. Because back home I happen to have worked a lot in research. Then I made this move to Oxford University Hospital, where I'm now currently coordinating or rather managing clinical trials. So in a nutshell, this country gives you a blank check. So you can control the course of your career comfortably, depending on obviously on the input you're putting in and what the environment is giving you. I think that sums it up very well. Back to the moderator.
Yes, thank you very much, Nurse Gertrude and Nurse Protus, for the elaborative answers. Still back on the UK pathway, maybe just the last questions for you, then we shift to other presenters who presented on USA. So somebody is asking, I think this one has already been answered. Someone is asking, we
don't mind clarifying if it's not home well.
Yes. Yes, sure you can.
Okay, fine. I'm saying I don't mind clarifying if maybe some issue wasn't home well, maybe for the question that has been repeated.
Okay, no problem. Oh, no problem. So one of the questions that has been asked quite repeatedly is that when you are in UK, do you still renew your Kenyan license yearly as we do here? And then there's a question that I think it was answered, but we can still comment on it. Especially Gertrude, is it necessary to have like a sum lump of money while relocating to UK, or the first salary that you earn will sort everything out? So while you are moving, do you need some cash, or maybe the first salary you get will sort you out? Or how long will you need to wait for you to get your first salary to be able to foot some bills that you might have incurred while moving? And then okay, so I think if we answered the two, then the last one for Team UK, that we have a nurse who is currently planning his transition to UK, then later to US. So he's asking, is the process from UK to US tedious or easy? Kindly share more light. So let's begin with Nurse Gertrude answering the question on the amount of money you need. Do you need a lump sum, or your first salary will sort it out? Then you can have Nurse Protus to handle the second question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Donald. Again, this is just right up my alley, because for me as world-class nurse, my focus is not on the process, it's on these other things that people think are just automatic. So if you've not followed me, just follow me, because these are the things I talk about on a day-to-day. So when it comes to the money, let me first give my own experience. So when I left Kenya, I left in such a hurry that I didn't have time to like have a lump sum of money. I remember very well, my family had done some contribution that they were going to gift me. They were going to gift me with on that day. And then I just left abruptly. So my dad's plan was he would go to the bank the next day and things like that. So when I left, that night I had 20,000 Kenya shillings, which I exchanged at JKIA, and I got 145 pounds. I'll never forget. So when I landed into UK, between me and poverty, I had 145 pounds. And okay, Saki kuchomea family, but that money they contributed, I've never seen it to date. But anyway, so when I landed, I had 145 pounds, and then our hospital gave us an advance of 450 pounds. So I had all that. But to be fair, the first month, you can't spend money. I think the only thing I spent money on was clothes, because I came when it was autumn. We were just transitioning to winter. So I needed to buy those heavy jackets, socks, shoes. And like when I came, my Bata shoes, I remember I bought Bata shoes, I think 3,000, something I'd never done before in Kenya. But when I got here, they were so light. Like if I go to the supermarket on the frozen section, my toes go numb. So I had to buy shoes that are thicker, jackets that are thicker, and all these things. So the rent, my hospital paid the rent for the first month. So I didn't have to think about rent. When we got to the accommodation, they had bought for us groceries, a few things, like it was a basket of groceries, milk, eggs, bread, butter, those tiny things. So personally, I didn't have to buy things for at least another week. So in short, you don't need a large amount of money to survive, especially on your first month, because rent is paid for, you're given bedding, you're given a bed. Some hospital will give you the groceries as well. So you don't need much for that period. You may need to buy clothes depending on the time that you come in. I have a friend who came in. The hospital she went to, they were not given the advance. So again, these are things that depends from area to area. So they were not given the advance. So, and she found herself in a bit of the same situation. So I think it's good to be prepared with some amount of cash, because you never know what situation you're going to find. But these are things that are in your offer letter. Your offer letter will tell you that the benefits you get, we are going to give you accommodation for this amount of time. we'll give you a hamper, we'll give you free gym, we'll give you all these things. They usually list down all the benefits. So before you travel out of Kenya, at least you already have an idea that at least for the first 2 months, I'm not going to pay rent. So you just need to worry about the other things, whether it's clothes or food. And again, food is not expensive here. Food is the cheapest thing. Groceries is the cheapest thing. The main expense, the main headache is rent. What was the other question? Money required, first salary. Yeah, so again, your first salary is going to be a lot because you're not paying rent, and that can really mislead you, because the next salary now, when you have to pay rent, then you realize, wow, this money is not that much. So I think I've forgotten the last question, which was the process from. Let me hand over to Protus to carry on with the answer.
Hi there, I'm back. So I think the second question was, I think somebody's coming over from Kenya to the UK and wants to go to the US, right? Yes, okay, I'm not so sure about the nitty-gritty details, but I think I want to believe, because I know of someone who was doing the same, but I think the process is more or less the same as maybe just being in Kenya, because you have to undergo all those verifications, you have to do the NCLEX, nothing changes at all. I think you'll still need to go through the same process as someone who's in Kenya. Yes. But I can verify that. But I think I can verify that with a friend of mine. But the last time I checked with him, he was still chasing all those paperwork and going through the processes as just someone who's in Kenya. Yeah.
To add on that, I have a colleague of mine who she's a Nigerian. We came at the same time, and she's trying to process to go to Canada. And I've realized the process is just easier because now you can finance it easily because you have the money to do the backs and forth. But when it comes to the what you need to do, it's not any different, because she has to be in touch with her school back in Nigeria. She has to be in touch with the council there to send her documents. So, and the last time I spoke to her, she told me it will take about 2 years for her to complete the whole process. So I don't think it's less easy. It's just easier because you have the money to fund all this back and forth between countries and all those things. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Nas Protus and Nas Gertrude. Very clear and to the point. I hope you've all been answered. Now let us make some shift to the journey to USA, and I've been able to read all the questions and summarize them into two major. All the questions are pointing into two, in the interest of time. So Nas Job, now that you prepared for NCLEX and you are transitioning to US through self-sponsorship. So people are asking now, what are the sites that you probably used during your revision? Do we have any paid sites, and do we have any free resources that people can use? I think Nas Humphrey can also weigh in on the same, but primarily that will be your question. And then for Nas Humphrey Nkonge, the question I direct to you will be the cost implications. I know we somehow handled this one last week, but if you can still have a rush on it, what will be the cost implications of doing NCLEX? What are the stations, exam centers for NCLEX? Do we have an exam center in Kenya? And if we have an exam center in Kenya, what is the process? If we don't have an exam center in Kenya, where do we do these exams from? After these questions, then we'll have a call to action. Thank you. So Nas Job.
Thank you, Don. Okay, before I delve into the questions, I'd like to add a few points. One of them is that the choice of the state that will sponsor you as a nurse in the US. It's very important that you do research and okay. So the question was about the materials that I used. Are they free or paid for? So personally,
Yeah,
I did purchase the Sounders textbook, and also another one for test strategies, and also I did my UL. I also relied on online materials whereby there are nurses who are in the US or all over the world who mentor other nurses. Like, for example, one of the most reliable YouTube channel that I use personally is the NCLEX High Yield by Dr. Sishan. Also, I relied on NCLEX content on YouTube, also on the internet. Secondly, I went to the Play Store and downloaded apps whereby for NCLEX-RN preparation. Some of them are free, some of them are paid for. Personally, I use the ones which are free. So for those who may want to prepare, they can go to YouTube, search NCLEX. They have several topics. And also they have live sessions whereby they discuss different subjects almost every day. You can also find them on Instagram, like for example, the Dr. Sishan, who is running the NCLEX IEL page. Also, you can download applications on Play Store and pay a small subscription fee, but personally, I did not pay that. There are those which you can pay around $20, $10 for a limited number of weeks or months. But personally, I would recommend UL. I felt it's very, very useful to me because it gives an objective measure whether you're going to pass the exam or not. So back to you, Don, if there's no any other question.
Thank you very much. You can also type it through my DM, then I'll also share with the rest. So now, Humphrey, as you answer the question, please give your call to action because time is so much spent. Then we'll have each of the presenters giving a 30 seconds call to action, and Maggie, then we close the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Donald and everyone. Now, about the resources, Kemboi has really tackled that issue very well. Maybe, actually, I used some of the materials that he has mentioned. But one thing I would like to mention, there are a lot of materials nowadays. There's a lot of, we are in the age of information, and there are a lot of materials. So sometimes if you are not careful, you may spend a lot of time learning about the same thing in different materials, and you also need to manage your time. So it is important to do a selection. For content, which book are you going to use? For questions, which question bank are you going to use? So maybe for content, you can select one for deeper content, another one for summarized content, something like that. For question banks, you can select one for whereby you, like the UL, the job was mentioning, the advantage of it is that it is very descriptive in terms of the answers. But when you look at something like NCSBN, because they also have questions, if you want to do more questions, you may not want to use UL because UL you will be a bit quite slow because you'll be spending a lot of time to look at the answers. It is even good also for developing your content base. Let me go now to the two questions I was asked to handle, and one is about cost implications for doing the NCLEX exam, especially for those who want to do the self-sponsored program. Now, if you want to start the self-sponsored program, you need to first have something like 100,000 Kenya shillings with you to start the process. Because you need to register for the CGFNS, that will cost you, right now it will cost you around 43,000 Kenyan shillings. In terms of dollars, around $390. So that will be the major cost for the starting. So when you get the forms from the CGFNS, you will take them to NCK and the school. NCK, it will cost you 12,000, and the school will cost you something like 5,000 or 2,000. And then if the school is not sending the documents, you will send the documents with around 5,000 to the CGFNS. Already that's 43 plus 12,000, that's around 60,000, 60 something, of course. Another 10, that's around 70. So now the remaining 30 is to take care of your training. I mean, or your revision materials. You buy some revision materials and you start the revision. So your 100 is already gone. After some time, as you wait for your CES report from the CGFNS, you will need to register for the board. That is going to cost you around $100. That's around just above 10K. And then some other costs like sending fingerprints to the board. In between, as you revise, there are not much costs after using the first 100,000. From there, the major cost now will come to the in between you register for the board, then you register for the exam with Pearson VUE. That will cost around $200, that's around 20K or something above. But the main cost will now come when you are going to do the exam. And that now goes to the question number 2 I was asked, the centers, testing centers. Testing centers for the NCLEX, unfortunately, we don't have one in Kenya. We have one in South Africa. I think that's the nearest one. And we have another one in India. So Kenyans have been testing in India, but recently, that is like 1 year ago, a center was opened in South Africa. That is where most Kenyans are going to test nowadays. In the days to come, maybe we are going to have a center, because actually the body that is contracted to manage the NCLEX is the same, I think is the same body that gives out, manages the NMC CBT, that is Pearson VUE. So most likely we will have a center, but we don't know when, because like the center that is in South Africa, those facilities are already here in Kenya. So I am also praying, and I hope that the agencies that we have can do something so that we can have a center in Nairobi. It's really very important and very beneficial, because the cost of going to South Africa is very high. We are talking of around 100,000 Kenyan shillings for the plane ticket to and fro, and accommodation. South Africa is an expensive country, and where the center, the town where the center is, that is Sandton, that town is very expensive. So probably around not less than 150,000 for going to test for the exam, because you may find that for a taxi you are spending like 6,000 one way and another 6,000 the other way. So when you start preparing for the US-UK process, you have to prepare yourself to spend. And even when you transition to those countries, the UK and the US, you will also realize that you have to spend money there, including getting information. Sometimes attending a webinar like this, you might be required to pay monies. So my call to action, I will almost repeat my call to action, because I really like this. What do I like most? Right now, the thing I like most is, as in most countries, developing countries and middle income, low income countries, as people suffer in terms of jobs, nurses are in the highest demand ever in the world. Recently, the province of Ontario in Canada started accepting NCLEX only as the main exam of transitioning to go to Canada. The process of going to Canada has been very complex. But now if you want to go practice in Canada and you have done NCLEX, you can register with a few bodies like the NNAS, and you transition to Canada within a very short time if you have done the NCLEX. So what I would like to ask our nurses, if you are struggling to get a job and you would like to practice outside, there is nothing that prevents you from practicing outside. If you are having a challenge of money, look for a way of raising that money, even if it would be in a way where you can be able to get some funding where you can pay later, even from family or friends, and start the process, because you never know what happens tomorrow. Lastly, related to the same, I would want to say this. If you look at UK, they need nurses in around 50,000 or less. for now, because they have been very aggressive in recruiting nurses internationally. And if you look at UK, they are recruiting nurses from any part of the globe. So you never know what will happen in future. Maybe in future they may stop international recruitment, because they always prioritize their citizens, and they cannot recruit for a profession where they can get labor locally. So let's take let's take advantage of these opportunities and better our lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nurse Humphrey. So the next call of action is going to be in this order. We're going to have Nurse Protus, then we have Nurse Job, then close with Nurse Gertrude. Thank you. 30 seconds or 45 seconds at most.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Donald. As a person who's gone through this process, I think the message I want to pass to all those who are tuned in today is, I think what you're doing, so I mean, especially for those who are in the process, what I would love to encourage you is all the pennies you're spending into this process, all the sleepless nights you're putting into this process, and all the sweat you're putting into this process, I think it's not going to go to waste. I think I can tell you for sure, coming over here has really changed my life. My career is progressing, and economically I'm not badly off. So it's really changed my life 360 degrees. So it's worth it. Keep working hard, and think you guys are very lucky that information is like readily available nowadays compared to back then. I'm reachable. I think, should you want to talk to me, and ask me more about this process, I think I'm on Facebook, I'm on WhatsApp, and any other forum. Feel free to reach out and ask for the information. More so, I think going forward, I believe we're going to have more of these forums, and I'll be happy to come and maybe talk more about this. Thank you so much.
Nurse Job.
Okay, thank you, Don. First of all, I do appreciate you guys for organizing this webinar, and also for the participants who joined today. I would like to tell those who may be aspiring to go abroad, maybe the UK, the US, Canada, Australia, that right now they have access to this information. Their duty now to make a choice, a decision on which way they want to go. We here are available to give more information and mentorship, so that all we can excel. One person cannot achieve much by self or ourselves, but now when we team up, we can be able to achieve something better. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nurse Gertrude. Your 30 seconds starts now.
Okay, so again, thank you for having me on this session. And I want to commend everyone, the 51 people who've been here from the start to the end, because I've realized most people are normally lazy. They want to be spoon-fed everything. So if you take time to attend the 1 hour and listen to everything, you're really doing well for yourself. And my call to action, I'll just echo what has been said by Humphrey, is just start. Like, don't wait for tomorrow. Don't procrastinate the process. Just start now. Reach out to people, like Protus has said. If you want clarification in the process, we are on social media platforms. Reach out, ask questions. Like me personally, I know sometimes I delay to answer, but I always answer. So wherever you are, if you're thinking of moving to the UK or whichever country, just start and the ball will get rolling. Yeah, they say a rolling stone gathers no moss. Now, sasa walisema nurses, we can't speak English, so when we come to such forums, we have to bring our A game. So just start, get the stone rolling. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Wow, this has been a very beautiful meeting, hasn't it? And thank you all who took time to attend. So dear colleagues, we've come to the end of today's meeting. I just have got one announcement. This is the last session of this series. We are hoping you're going to have more in the coming days. but you'll take a short break. Hata hamta to miss kidogo tu hivi. Imagine hamta to miss. Then after that one, you're coming back with another series, which is called Beyond the Bedside webinar series for nurses. So beyond the website webinar series for nurses, we are going to handle to bring nurses who are working in research, nurses working in the education sector, nurses working in banking and insurance and finance, so that we can also expand our scope of our line of practice. Let us see what are the opportunities available in research, in finance, opportunities available in the education sector and other sectors of the economy where nurses are excelling. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on that. And up to this point, if you have any other question, we've shared the email and social media contacts for Passcode Global Consultants. Kindly please get in touch, you will be helped. We are available to help and answer every other question. At this point, I would like us to unmute, if you can, and hello each other a good night. Yes, I can see you. If you can hello each other good night and say good night, take care, have a great week ahead.
Good
Good
night.
night. Have a great
Good night, everyone.
Turus, turus.
Good night. Good night. Thank you.
Good night, all.
Thank you for the meeting.
You're welcome.
Welcome.
Yeah, we loved it so much.
Wow, amazing. Okay.
Bye.
Good night. Good night.